Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our monthly LinkedIn Live with Gina London. Gina London is here with us today. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Sam. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here in September. We've started the Burr month, so that's back to work for a lot of us. It's back to conferences, I know. And so, what a great topic that you've chosen, Sam. I give you credit for that. I'm really looking forward to sharing some ideas and hearing from those of you who are going to be attending or are attending our LinkedIn event.
Yes, and we're also live on Twitter and YouTube. So, hi, everybody. Hello, Adam. Adam has just joined us from Twitter. I know that because it says X on it. See? Yeah, welcome, Adam. Lovely to see you. So, Adam is joining us from America, actually. I know that as well. So, lovely to see you, Adam. So, yeah, we're going to talk about the top rookie mistakes that people make when they're speaking. But first of all, Gina, for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. Well, I'm a former CNN anchor and presenter, which with the U.S. presidential debate coming up tomorrow evening in stateside on ABC, but with all the political activity, having been a White House correspondent, this is certainly a time that I know not just myself, but the whole world is watching this election. But that's where I started with storytelling, simplifying, some would say oversimplifying, and I take that on board for the media, but learning how to control your voice, how to craft an engaging story, and how to connect with an audience. I think that's the foundational skills that now, with my company, Language of Leadership, I coach and I speak and I provide workshops all over the world with people who are wanting to take their communication and impact in their business, in their careers, in their workplace, and in their lives. And I know we're focusing this time on presentations, but the lessons that you'll get, some of the things that we can talk about in a presentation standpoint, will also be applicable in so many other facets, because communications is not an on-off switch, it's an ongoing current. And so I'm really looking forward to working with you and everyone who's here today to help each of you feel that you are more confident and comfortable about the choices that you're making, and to know what some of those choices are that you can make with that confidence and that comfort when you communicate.
Yeah, and you're the top person in this space. I know you are, because you've actually taught me so much from, just watching your videos, and, I'm learning so much from you. And Dara says hi as well from
Hi, Dara.
Dara Kieran. And you actually did an article about Dara recently, and his book is out as well, everybody. So check it out. Definitely. I know that I noticed I was at two events this week, and I was watching, some of the things that maybe a few gaps, but actually the speakers were very professional and polished. And, there's always something though that stands out that, I won't mention, but, tell me what you have spotted when you're at events, and mistakes, rookie mistakes that people have made when they're starting out in their speaker journey.
Well, I think one of the first things I would remind everyone of, like I was saying in the beginning, is that don't save your purposeful communications just for a high-stake event that would be a presentation.
Yeah.
Start thinking more purposefully about what's my body language, what's my voice, can I stop speaking after I make a point, or do I have a tendency, like a lot of people do, to rush what I say past the finish line? Not that you can't have extra things to add on, but be aware of what you're planning on saying, get comfortable with a pause, and then be comfortable stopping with a bit of authority. And so the reason I say that is because a lot of people, when they do present or deliver a presentation, it's the first time they've actually tried to project their voice or tried to have a little bit of stage presence. Sometimes maybe in 6 months, sometimes maybe only it's been a month, but we get rusty. It's just like any other muscle. If you don't exercise this muscle regularly and frequently, it's not going to perform for you as much as you would like. So the first thing I would say is treat every speaking opportunity as a chance to be conscious and present about your voice, your words, and your body. Secondly, do not have a presentation be the first time that you are presenting this material. Rehearse out loud. Do not think that the way you write is the way that you're going to deliver. If you've just read it to yourself and thought, well, I've got it. I know my outline. I'm internalizing this. And then you go on that stage and the nerves come up, or something happens that you didn't plan, or you've memorized everything absolutely verbatim and you get stuck and suddenly you draw a blank, or the words don't come the way you'd like it, or the way you wrote it isn't easy for you to deliver and you get tongue-tied. And those are all really, I call them rookie mistakes because they're largely preventable.
Okay, so like I know I actually understand what you're saying because I had 10 minutes on the stage and I was like, how am I going to add value in 10 minutes? How am I going to get all of this? And I was aware that I was rushing a little bit, but then I stopped. You always talk about the power of the pause.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped when I said something to let the audience take it in. And I
Yes.
noticed the power of that. And you taught me that. And like that's what's great, folks, with Gina. There are so many free videos out there that she does. You can learn from them, but definitely, Gina, it's something that you've spoken about a lot, is the power of the pause.
The power of the pause, and by the way, the power of a repetition. So let's say, for
Mhm.
example, you feel yourself rushing. You pause mentally. You're telling yourself, I'm going to reset at a slower pace. An
Mm.
easy technique to do then is you pause and you kind of imagine you're going back one sentence in your presentation. And you just say, again, here's what's important. It can give you that chance to repeat it with a little bit slower pace. And to your point, which is so important, Sam, it makes your audience probably remember better than if everything's coming at the same pace. You're actually giving them that chance to take it in and to remember it and maybe even write it down. Don't forget, your audience doesn't know what you planned to say. They only know what you do say. So
Yeah.
you can take opportunities to underline something, to restate it in a slightly different way and add more emphasis. The more that you can prepare, practice out loud, and then be flexible and observant in real time to how your audience is responding, who has spoken before you, so you can maybe lift the energy or change that mood if you need to, depending on how it went. You don't have to link yourself with that person if you don't like the way they perform, but you do have to be aware that the emotional energy out there in that audience has been taken on a particular journey.
Mm.
Sometimes that previous speaker can lift you. I would also caution people, situationally make a choice, but the number of times I've heard someone who has spoken after me or after someone else, not just me, that goes, oh, I don't know how to follow that, or oh, I can't follow that. Why? If you're feeling a little bit comparing yourself to that person, would you give that to the audience?
Mm.
You're unique. You have a different approach. What you're going to say is still valuable. You might think it, but one of the signs of a strong or more experienced presenter is you don't say every single thing you think in real time while you're thinking it, because you might be handing over a little bit of your own credibility, trying to be vulnerable. Maybe you're trying to, I get the earnestness where that comes. I also
Mm.
don't think it usually serves most presenters. Just come on, be aware what the other person said. You can sometimes steal a little bit of that energy if it's a good one, and not distance yourself by saying, oh, that's too, you can just keep, hey, building on what Sam said, here's what I've got to say. Now I've just created a connection instead of made a chasm.
Actually, I did that when I got up because a lady before me, Dorina, had spoken about LinkedIn and stuff like that. And then I said, you know what? Following on from what Dorina said, about LinkedIn, actually, there's another one, which is LinkedIn newsletters. And, I actually followed. So it was lovely
Great.
to be able to do that. And she
Well, you could have
appreciated
had
it.
you could have had your confidence cut and said, "Oh, I was preparing 10 minutes on LinkedIn, and now Dorina just said 5 minutes of what I was thinking." But instead, you go, "I've got this other little nugget. I'll just expand my discussion on this nugget." I don't know if that's what you did,
Yeah.
but these are the kinds of things that I would be saying rather than going. The number of times, folks, I have been back when I was a news person, and back when breaking news, you'd be in front of a fire or some sort of a weather event, and you don't have a lot of information at that time, and that presenter, if you're out in the field, says, well, we're going to go now to Sam where there's a 5 five alarm apartment, and investigators are on the scene, and they think it might have been arson. And you go, yeah, thanks, Sam. That's all I have right now. But you don't say, you just said everything that I know. But you don't say that. What you say is, that's right, Sam.
Yes.
We're here. And then you repeat it in your words with your own energy. And what you've done is you've created that, hey, I'm worthwhile to listen to as well. I'm on the scene. Maybe you give your own impression that you talk to somebody and you can add a little bit of color, but you don't go and deflate your own message before you even start talking by comparing yourself negatively to the speaker that went before you.
I agree. I've heard someone say, actually, oh, you just took away my whole presentation I had prepared, and it's like, well, okay, why are we listening to you then?
Exactly. And so then you wonder why it didn't land the way you'd hope, but you're the ones who dealt the cards back off of what they say. We all start with 52 cards in our deck. And the audience, think about it, every audience wants you to succeed because that means that their time wasn't wasted, that it was a valuable time. So your ability to make conscious choices of, I might be thinking that, but I'm not going to say it, or I'm thinking something and I'm going to say something slightly different, doesn't make you disingenuous. It makes you really focused on the audience and what's going to be the best experience for them. And that's the point of impactful presentations, is that you're really putting that audience experience in the forefront of your mind.
Yes, brilliant. And another rookie mistake that I see people making, I don't know if you agree with this as well. A lot of event organizers might be watching this, for example. And I know for event organizers, time is so important. And I know that, number one, there's before the event, getting the presentation in on time. And then number two, there's the other side of it where going over your time when you're giving in a lot of time. Can you talk a little bit about mistakes you've seen?
That's a great one, Sam. Because I present a lot and I'm also asked to facilitate and MC a lot of events. That is a tricky one because guess what? Your MC is never going to cut the speaker because they've run long, unless you've got a head organizer that says, we got to find a way to get them off. Or if I'm moderating a panel, I might say, we've only got 10 seconds for this question. I might put some time blocks around it to guardrail it. But you as the speaker, that's a responsibility. If someone says you've got a 10-minute slot and you take 20, not only have you grandstanded, and even if you were really dynamic, which I would argue you've probably frustrated people in the audience, you've certainly frustrated the other speakers who now feel that they're going to be condensed, or the people that are running the whole conference, because people get tired by the time the end of that conference is around. No organizer wants to say, well, we were going to go till 5 o'clock, but because they've all run late, we're going to keep you till 6. It's not going to make people happy. So, and that you can start again when you rehearse. How focused are you? Can you run your presentation short? Because a lot of people will ad lib and expand in the real presentation. We have a tendency to think that we get nervous and we rush, but even if we're rushing, we often are adding more and pushing our time as opposed to speaking quickly and reducing our time. So yes, put yourself on your phone stopwatch. Watch how close you are. If you're a minute to your time, I'd encourage you to try to see if you can peel that back, still be really focused, maybe eliminate part of the story that you might be telling and make it more focused to get to that lesson for the audience. And then give yourself time that you're 2 minutes shy. Then in the actual presentation, you can take that ending time, that little pad you have, and reemphasize what can the audience do right away. What's one thing that they can go and take on and improve their lives or their careers as a result of what you're saying? That strong wrap is also really something I've watched too many early inexperienced presenters not sell properly, because they get to the end, they are rushed, they are crunched for time. The red light's been flashing on the comfort monitor in front of them at that conference. And so they just say, that's all the time I have, thanks.
Yes.
And you've missed your chance to really land a strong message at the end.
That's a really, really good takeaway. Takeaway, excuse the pun, from this is that have your takeaway. Have a summary nearly maybe of the presentation. Is that
Oh,
just
absolutely. A recap is really important. When you get to the end of what journey you've just taken them on, third, especially if it's a really long presentation, like a keynote, I want to wrap in a real powerful, meaningful way what the top 3 or 2 things are that someone can take away immediately, because people's memories are short.
Yeah.
And to remind them with something uplifting and aspirational that they can do or apply right away, that leaving them with that. So then also a message, repeatable, actionable, emotionally backed, the what with an aspirational why. When you come to the end of your presentation, remind them where they went, remind them where you took them. That powerful close is more important than a dramatic introduction, because by the time you've gotten to the end, if you fizzle at the finish, they're not going to remember what you said at the start, or they'll be disappointed because they were looking for that strong ending as well.
Interesting, actually, the one I did recently, I had a red suit on, and I remember I told the story about this woman in a red suit that I saw years and years ago, and I wanted to be like her. So I told that story at the end, and that was the one that everyone remembered, was the story.
Well, that's another thing, is have some stories in there. If you are presenting a lot of statistics, I do a lot with a lot of cyber safety people, a lot of technology. The story about the cyber hack is something that's a great illustration. Not all the statistics about how they happen, but that one story. Give a person's name, give a first name. You don't have to give but make it real, make it human, make it tangible. When you're speaking, if you were speaking about abstract concepts like sales or statistics or transactional things, and you then add a story that has concrete, tangible scents, smells, colors, like a red suit. Everybody can picture their version of a red suit. A story that has those types of actual places and nouns and figures, things that are images, that's going to stick then with your audience, and that you can link that, of course, to your point.
And how do you feel about, I see a lot of people trying to get, I actually don't like this, right? It's just me.
Tell me. I don't know where this is going.
As an audience member, I know, for example, as an audience member, I don't like when someone says, right, come on, everybody, stand up and do this and shake yourself or whatever. I don't like that. I hate it, right? And that's just me now. But I know that I did something for the audience. I asked them who's sitting beside them to connect with them on LinkedIn. So they did something with the QR code that I showed you.
Right.
And that was something that caused a bit of a buzz. And they started, there was a bit of a buzz in the audience, but it was something they could take away from the event. But I just don't like that stand-up thing.
Well, look, I hear you. And we have this tendency, because the research does show an audience is largely passive unless you bring them to something that's interactive with you. So a lot of presenters then will do the standard thing, or the typical thing is, how many of you by show of hands fill in the blank? So that may feel a little bit cliched to someone who goes to a lot of conferences.
I don't mind that.
But the research does show it's bringing their attention back to the present.
Right.
If you're the third in a lot of different speakers, and then we're talking conferences now, we're not just talking like sales presentations, but you might do that for as well in an internal presentation as well. But do know what your audience has come from before. If they just have a couple of icebreakers in your pocket, because there's a zillion things that you can find on Google. I mean, you can just Google presentation icebreakers, and you're going to get hundreds of them. So if you have seen one that you like, go dig and find something similar, or use that one when that person's not presenting, because look, this stuff is out there for you to try. Standing up types of things, I do have what I call my focus exercise, which does involve people to stand up and do ridiculous stuff, but there's a real point that it's demonstrating at the end, which I think that payoff is essential.
Right.
So if it's just a hand up and you're looking around, encourage your audience. Hey, look around the room and see This is startling a lot. This is startlingly not so many. Make sure that they're having that experience that you're wanting them to have. So I think your ability to be a tour guide and an aware tour guide of what the audience's fatigue level is, where the audience is in that day, will allow you then to make some real-time choices. Am I going to do it? I'm going to cut it. Am I going to do something different? Am I going to add something to the end of it? Am I going to make sure that even if you've done an icebreaker 25 different times, this audience has only experienced it from you this once. So how do you bring that awareness to make them feel that it's meaningful for them in this context is really important. If everybody's been standing up and you're number 6 and you come out there and have everybody stand up again, you better have a really good reason why. The Sams in the office are good. The Sams in the audience are going to be sick of you.
Sorry, I didn't. Yeah, but I don't mind if there's something in it, you know.
Situational awareness is critical in all things, not just presentations, but especially in presentations, because if you've got an audience of people, they're looking at you, they're expecting something from you. And what we haven't touched on yet, and I really want to make sure we get onto that as well, is a coach. You're doing some audience participation stuff that shows you care about them. Most people, though, probably haven't tried that. So I'm going to actually, and you go to a lot of conferences, I go to a lot of conferences. If you're speaking for the first time at something, and most rookie or inexperienced presenters are focused so much on their information and what they've prepared for their script or what the statistics are, that they haven't actually done the audience interaction awareness piece, because they're relying too much on the information, which is important, but not their connection to that information and connecting to the audience. So this is one thing I really want everyone to remember, is that if I can deliver your presentation, that is a mistake. You are the presentation. You should be that magic factor that's so important. If you have your entire presentation written in a way that everyone can just read it like a book, be the movie, not the book. If you want to leave them with a leave behind afterwards, that's fine. But if they're reading over your shoulder on point number 5 and you're talking about point number 1, you are not the tour guide of your presentation.
Oh, very good. Very good. And you actually made me think of something else. And hi to Dara and Adam. And I don't know who the other person is that said delighted to be here. I think it might be Andrew. It just says LinkedIn user, so I don't know why that is. It must be the settings. But yeah, another thing that you often talk about is what to wear. Some people think, oh, I have to wear certain style or whatever. I know for me, heels, for example, heels. A lot of us would wear heels to an event. And one thing as an event attendee, I find difficult is having to eat at a pod table with my heels, because I've been standing all day already. But if I was doing a presentation, though, I would wear heels. So I know a lot of people are wearing more casual stuff. What are your thoughts around that?
Know who you are, and know what image of you that you are wanting to bring to this particular event. So know what the event is and know who you are, right? So that's the first step. If you are someone who is really comfortable in tennis shoes, runners, and you're going to be at a very formal event, it's a banking industry. What's the industry? Is it finance? If it's something where the rest of the people are going to be in a particular level of costume, because I love, RuPaul has a line that we're all in drag. From the moment that we put on clothes, we're sending a signal about the version of us that we want the audience to read. So we're teaching people how to be treated. If you're that person that wants to be in a pair of Converse, do it. Know that is the image that you are sending. If you're a Converse person, but you're also a 3-piece suit person, and you're wanting to really be that credibility factor, then wear that. But wear something that you're comfortable in, something that, especially if you're going to be wearing particular shoes. I have heels I like to wear when I'm on stage, but they are very wide toe box, so I am comfortable. for, I call them my 8-hour shoes. Wear something that you're going to be comfortable in, that fits you properly. If you've gained a little weight and you've still got that favorite suit and you sit down and your buttons gape when you're on a panel, that is a no-go. Just buy a size up. Don't worry about the number, worry about the fit. So you feel comfortable and you can move and you can connect with that audience. If you like patterns, that's a little more busy, funky kind of a look. But if that's your image, know what it sends. You'll see a lot of the Amal Clooney's, now talking about women, and you'll see the actresses on formal settings. They usually will wear a neutral color and a solid tone, a lot of that monochrome dressing, because it's elongating and it also has a classic style. Red suits, certainly. Red dresses, certainly. For men, do you have a funky tie? Do you have a cool t-shirt and a cool pair of socks? Press them, not the socks, but if the shirt looks like it was picked up at the bottom of your bed in a heap, that's going to send a different impression. If you're deciding to wear a t-shirt, but it's got a logo that you really think is going to send a message, I think everybody should be that connecting version of them that they want to be augmenting, not distracting or taking away from their message. So do you need to overthink it? No, but do think about your wardrobe, your shoes, your hairstyle, all sends a message. It does not mean we have to be carbon cutouts of each other. We should not be.
Yeah.
But we should know that those choices are choices. If you have really long dangly earrings and you're a woman or a man or what, I don't care, but think that says a message to you, to your audience, differently than if you don't. But that's up to you and the message and the context of what it is you're trying to present. Speaking about the U.S. presidential elections tomorrow, or the debate tomorrow, I'm sure you'll see a choice of attire made by both of them that is sending out a signal to their audience.
Yeah, it'd be great to observe that. I know you did something in News Talk recently as well about, the way people, or Ireland AM, I think it was, that you did about the different ways that Kamala presents compared to others and stuff like that. Actually, we have loads of questions coming in. So,
Sure.
Andrew, on the 2-minute pitch, biggest mistake or missed opportunities you see most often?
Making sure on a 2-minute pitch that you have very clear who I am, what my point is, why it matters to me, and why it matters to you. So think about your outline in that context, and it's going to keep you on focus. Sometimes people are into the here's what it is, here's what it does, but not why I'm passionate about it and why it will improve your life. So I think that clarity of the questions you want to answer first. Don't ever start a presentation with just a chronological brain dump, or do what I call write drunk, edit sober, not literally. Get all the brain dump out, but then make sure that you move pieces around and that you're flexible so that you have a very strong structure, not verbatim script, but structure so that you can end. And I would always encourage you to end why it matters to the audience.
Yes, great, brilliant. And Dara has just commented saying, I remember the time I realized I needed to write my material with audience in mind rather than just for myself. Made such a difference.
That's exactly right, Dara. I mean, I've worked with CEOs on presentations and like, what's your agenda? What's your outline for this? And they write it down. Great. Now, what's the outline or the agenda from your audience's perspective? Now throw that first one away and go with that.
Excellent. Lovely. Yeah. Thank you. Greg. Hi, Greg. Hello, Sam and Gina. Gina, will you kindly expand on an authoritative stop versus a pause?
Yeah, this is a great one. And here's what I think I'm taking away from that question, Greg, and I appreciate it. When you are coming in to make a big point, whether it's a paragraph in the middle as you're transitioning into another point, or it's the whole closing, the low and slow technique tells an audience you're about to conclude your remarks. See what I did? So that can even be when you're listening to speeches and you hear an experienced presenter do that cadence. I'm coming in for a landing. It can be in the middle of the presentation. It can, of course, be the very end, but it's a reminder to the audience, wake up. My standard pacing is being changed. If you've tuned out from my white noise, listen to this. Here it comes. It's also often a good applause cue. Your cadence is an indicator to the audience. This means something.
Mm.
And when you get to the end of your whole presentation, and I'm over affecting it, obviously, but I want you to feel that rhythm. You'll start to hear it and be recognizing it more and more as you heighten your awareness to it from others. When you get to the very end, for example, and you rapped, but you didn't love the rap, you didn't maybe land it as strong as you could, link with the word again. And now go through the low and slow. This matters to you. It will change your life.
Mm.
And I think that's what I would call the authoritative stop versus a pause, which is in the middle of something. Maybe we haven't thought of the word, or we're gathering our thoughts. You see, my cadence is still looking like I'm going to continue. My face is still energized. And the pause is usually, in my experience, much preferable to linking with the filler, the you knows, the I supposes, the M's. But the authoritative stop is you're very aware that you're pushing a powerful point or making some sort of a wrap up story that's improving their lives, a lesson learned for your audience. So you know how to indicate it by connecting your words to your voice and your face.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're out of time, would you believe? But I have to do my little wrap up, right?
The
So
wrap.
I'll do the little wrap up. But before I do, I was taking notes. I'm sure everybody else was as well. So just tell everyone a little bit about your language of leadership and how people can work with you as well.
You see it going on, I think, below on the ticker right now. Languageofleadership.org is my online video platform academy where I have hundreds of videos that can give you quick micro lessons, the snackable learning. You can listen to one a day, or you can go a whole couple of weeks at a time. They build on each other, from executive presence to presentation to story to body language to even business writing. And
Mhm.
you can go on a self-guided journey and begin to reacquaint yourself with the basics, because the basics are the heart of presentation. And
Mm.
this stuff is not one and done. Like we were saying at the very beginning, it's a muscle that needs constantly to be exercised, because life gets in the way. We get distracted. We forget to think about the audience because we're busy worrying about something that's on our own mind. It happens. We're human. But helping people be actively more human and connecting is my commitment through creating the Language of Leadership platform and academy. And it's available for any of you. It's not expensive and it's pretty robust. And I would love to see you there.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're still getting comments, by the way. Thank you both. I will have to watch the recording. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, do watch the recording. I'm going to wrap up with a summary for you, Bass, okay, for things that you missed. Okay, so I'll do that now. Every day is a school day. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew's lovely. He's down in Limerick. Bass, we're going to do a little wrap up for you now, okay? So, yeah, so first of all, prepare, practice out loud, read the audience in real time. Am I correct there?
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
it. Yeah, because you don't want to be driving like a bulldozer over your prepared presentation. If you're seeing the audience check out, or if you're seeing the audience really land and nod their heads to something, give that a little bit of a moment to reinforce it, to let that breathe. Being prepared, but also flexible to situationally what is happening in your audience is the difference between something feeling rote and robotic, and something feeling they see me, they hear me, they're connected to me. And that's from the audience's perspective, of course.
yes, and just be aware, repeatable, actionable in the presentation. Remind them where you took them at the end. So with a wrap up, and also you mentioned about the pitch, who I am, what is it for, and why it matters. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, what's my product or service? Why it meant a lot to me. People like that little origin story if you can fit that in a heartfelt way. And then, of course, how it's going to change or improve your life or where you work or whatever it's designed to do. And make sure that you end with the so what's in it for the audience, because that's what our ears are always listening to. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Not because we're selfish, but because we want to feel like our time was not wasted, it was valued. So the more you can think of your audience first and be flexible with your own material to tweak for them, I think that's a real hallmark of a not experienced presenter, but a caring presenter. And anybody can be a better, more caring presenter. A lot of experienced presenters, you can see them, they're phoning it in and they've lost their connection with the audience. So reminding yourself that it's the audience that matters and that you're here to serve them and to improve their lives, I think will help you make that connection and really add that value.
Yes, and in saying that, speaking of audiences, Neil, Adam, Shashi, Andrew, Dara, Bass, everybody who joined us, Greg, thank you so much for your questions as well. And Brent, who joined us from Canada, thank you all so much for tuning in, and do enjoy the rest of your lunch if you're on your lunch. And Gina London, thank you so much. Go to ginalondon.com. You can also follow Gina on Twitter. You can see her on languageofleadership.org. And yeah, do keep in touch. And if you have any questions, do connect. And yeah, we'll see you again next month when we have another exciting topic for you. And we hope those tips helped you. This will be on YouTube, on Gina's YouTube. Check out her YouTube. You can subscribe and you will get notified when this goes live as well on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you all. Make all your presentations the best one because we're always trying to build and be better and more impactful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And any follow-up questions, find me on LinkedIn. I'm there.
Thank you. Bye.